The legislative version of musical chairs over congressional boundaries came to an abrupt halt when Governor Larry Hogan accepted the revised congressional district map approved by the General Assembly last week, combined with the voluntary dismissal by the Attorney General of its earlier appeal to the Court of Appeals. Mark, when the music stopped, the map is not as compact as the map proposed by the Citizens Commission appointed by Governor Hogan, but it certainly seems better for Republicans.
Well, yes, on balance, it's much more like the bipartisan Citizens Commission map, with the exception of their more sort of cross-county cuts. But it is, I think, a huge improvement on the prior map that had been adopted by the legislature.
So, Mike, what everybody wants to know is, who won, who lost, who got screwed in the process, right? I mean, we love, getting into the granular. So Maryland Matters claims that the big winner of the game was U.S. Representative Andy Harris, and the loser was Delegate Heather Mazur and David Hardin, who were trying to beat him.
No, I think that's right. I mean, I think that clearly when the legislature drew the first map, I mean, when they reached across the Chesapeake Bay into the western side of the state, it certainly was to try to bring in more Democratic voters, and I think that opened up a door for opponents to Congressman Harris. So when you go back to basically the district that he had, certainly he feels he's in a much stronger position. If you look at the percentage of those who in that district who voted for President Trump, I mean, it clearly aligns well for Congressman Harris. I think the other two have a very significant uphill climb right now, given where things are. That being said, I think personally that the maps are more reflective of the communities in which that they look more like the state. And I think that while from a clearly drawing maps is among the most political things, if not the most political thing that happens. That's what politics are about, is who gets to make the rules, who draws the lines. And so there's a lot of gerrymandering that continues out there.
That's a great thought, and we're going to save that for our exit question. Yep. Because I think it touches on the importance of what Judge Battaglia did here in striking down the original map. Mark, the article in Maryland Reporter suggests that Congressman David Trone may have a harder race this time. That doesn't seem possible.
Well, it's interesting. It is a more competitive district, and it is an interesting district, and you have very different communities, Montgomery County and Western Maryland being very conservative. Listen, I'm fanning the rumor, I'm the only one fanning it, but that David Trone should not go forward with running for re-election and run for the governor. He's going to have to spend several $1 million this year. If he wins 2 years from now, better to take it all and take a shot at governor.
Like we need another candidate for governor. Come on, Mark.
Just stirring the pot, so we'll have plenty to talk about on 21 this week.
Yeah, well, the real question is, does Neil Parrott have a chance of defeating David?
In a competitive race, absolutely, and in a competitive time that we're looking at, it is well within the margin that Republicans nationally are targeting for races. Obviously, Republicans are mindful of Trone's ability to spend money, but it is potentially a very competitive race. And interestingly, for Neil, it's not so competitive. We'll see before next week that other candidates were drawn into the race. So he may have hit that nice sweet spot.
Okay, well, good. That'll be interesting to see. Mike, also considered by Maryland Reporter was Donna Edwards in the redrawn 4th district, right, and saying that voting precincts that were taken out of Montgomery County, were her sweet spot. And now it looks like former state's attorney Glenn Ivey is going to win there. What do you think?
Well, I think anything is too far out to say for certain who's going to win or who's going to lose. But I think certainly Donna had a strong base in that southeastern portion of Montgomery County and Tacoma Park advantage. I mean, Glenn has a good track record. Glenn is well known. Glenn's family is well known. His wife is elected at the council. His son is a delegate. So I mean, so that the Ivy family, then the Ivy name is clearly well ensconced in Prince George's County and in that district. And so I think he was a very strong candidate in the first place. And I think this only makes him a stronger candidate.
Well, we'll wait and see. I mean, I think it's fascinating because when you look at the redrawn map that was adopted, and this gets back to your comments earlier and kind of the exit question that I wanted to throw to both of you. Gerrymandering is the scourge against our system. But both parties certainly engage in it. And I thought it was very courageous that Judge Lynn Battaglia exhibited in striking down the initial map. But will it have effect outside of Maryland? And actually, in our next topic is to talk about the legislative districts. Will it ever have an effect on those legislative district race or maps as well? Mark, I'll kind of go to you first, and then since Mike was already opining on it, we'll let him have the last word.
Well, I was going to comment that the scourge of gerrymandering is that for both parties, the real contest is within the primary, and so whoever is elected has got to look to the more extreme parts of their own party with the threat that there'll be a primary challenge that will unseat them, and the political consequence of that is to marginalize or limit the effectiveness of moderates in both parties, since there are, again, fewer races in which are decided by the broad, complete constituency of a particular district.
And Mike, is this going to have legs, this idea that I mean, you commented on the compactness of the new congressional districts. Is this going to have legs?
I would like to hope that they would have legs, that this concept would actually really start to take hold out there, but there isn't any indication that that's the case, and the Supreme Court seems to be begging off, kind of just making decisions that are going to overturn any of those state ruled activities. And so I just think the thing that will ultimately change it is you're going to have to see population shifts, and at some point you're just not going to be able to draw the lines to get to an outcome that you're going to want to get to. And I think you're seeing those types of shifts at least in the larger states. Your smaller states, your more rural populations, you're not going to see that. But I think that's what's ultimately going to get there, is you're going to see the population shift, and you're going to be so gerrymandered, you're just not going to get that through. But you're probably 20 years off of that.
Well, everybody's going to end up living in Frederick County, right? I mean, that seems to be the way it's going to go. But of course, we're not going to have any way to get there from Montgomery County. But that's for a later topic in this show.